Konnichiwa, welcome back to my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for the Japanese Grand Prix in Season 2. Forgot what I was saying there for a moment, but nonetheless, we are back for another episode. 3 days in a row, on a roll here. Anyway, heading into this one, we have a few upgrades on the car. Mercedes making good strides though, and breaking away from the pack at the front of the field, though it hasn't always played out that way on circuit, so we'll have to see in practice and qualifying how that actually plays out. But we continue to chip away R&D as well, but on this track we don't seem to be too fast. We're down in 13th in Q1, but we do get through. Yuki Tsunoda showing slightly better pace, but still not as good as what we would like, so we'll need to hopefully do better in Q2 if we want to actually make something of this weekend. So we'll see what we can do. But you can see on this first flyer, and in fact the only flyer we have in Q2, it's not gone well, and it's not going to be a very good lap time with the first sector like that. But to finish my point, we used 2 sets of tyres in Q1, so this is the only chance we get in Q2, and it's not good enough. We're knocked out, down in 13th position. Yuki Tsunoda gets through up in 8th, but neither of us showing stellar pace this weekend, so it's going to be a tough one. So let's get into the race because we need to do better.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda, and Hamilton. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon, Gasly, Norris, they've taken a grid penalty, and Nikita Mazepin. Sainz, the scientist, Sebastian Vettel, and Matsushita. Stroll, Russell, Kimi Raikkonen, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Fernando Alonso, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Bottas, Mick Schumacher, and Nicholas Latifi. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
Of course, home race for Honda, home race for our teammate Yuki Tsunoda, home race for our team, the Samurai F1 team. So plenty of reasons to want a good race here at Suzuka. Strategy will be soft tyres to the mediums. We've gained 1 position already with Fernando Alonso taking a grid penalty, so we're up into 12th. As we go to the 5 red lights, and away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a great start for us, and we immediately gain 2 places along the run towards the first corner. We passed the row of the grid in front of us, and now we go around the outside into turn 1. A little bit off circuit, trying to leave some space there on the inside, a little bit wide on the exit as well, off into the grass. We lose out a bit there, but we're just about fend off Pierre Gasly and hold on to 8th position as things stand, so gaining 4 places from our grid slot. And that is Esteban OCON going for a spin behind us, the Frenchman getting it all wrong I think there. We'll see how that ended. It ends in the wall, and Esteban OCON is out of the race before it's barely gotten started, and that is a disaster. Here's the onboard, and you can see he just did it himself, losing the rear end through the S-curves there, and Esteban OCON has gotten that all wrong. But we'll have a look at the replay of the start here. You can see Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen on the front row. Perez actually got away very well, drew alongside his teammate as they all head towards the first corner, but slots into line with Daniel Ricciardo very close behind there, but it was Max Verstappen who was able to capitalize on pole position, and he leads the way in the early phases of this one, but albeit that is under safety car at the moment because of that little incident with Esteban OCON. So the safety car has been brought out for the time being while that gets cleaned up, and we will take a deep breath before we go again.
In this lap.
And now we are ready to do so on lap number 3, and onto lap 4 we get going once again. Pierre Gasly putting the pressure on the safety car restart. We didn't get a very good one, but we managed to fend off Gasly, go very deep though into I think that's turn 2, and Gasly's through, and we lose out there with just a simple mistake. So we held him off the first corner, but yeah, he was just able to sneak through on the inside as we went a little bit too deep and completely missed the second apex there. But we'll get him back as we continue to push on, and we're going to go for an almighty dive down into the Casio triangle, and we get the move done there, and that was a really late move.
Great maneuver. You made it look
But
easy.
that was a huge dive, but we made it stick, and we moved ourselves ahead of Pierre Gasly,
No need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
as we now set our sights on Lando Norris, who is currently held up behind Yuki Tsunoda. So Lando Norris with a bit of work to do. Tsunoda not with great pace it seems so far. He's lost a place from the start. I think he started 5th after the grid penalty, so he's lost a spot since then, and yeah, he's under pressure from Lando Norris. So yeah, it looks like Tsunoda doesn't have great pace at the moment, but hopefully that will improve throughout the race. We'll see how it goes, I suppose. But anyway, here goes Lando Norris around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda through turn 1, and he'll get the move done. Great stuff, Lando. That was a good move, and we'll try to get past our teammates soon and chase after Lando because I'm feeling good at the moment. I'm feeling like we have decent pace, and that we can show it once we get ourselves into clear air.
Dropping back by about 0.3 a lap.
And we show that when we get past Yuki Tsunoda around the outside, leaving him plenty of space just to make sure we don't make any form of contact with our teammate. And now you can see the pace we have because we've caught up to Lando Norris in the McLaren. DRS open for us as we chase down the Brit, and we'll go to the outside. He defends, but it will not help him as we go around the outside and get the job done and move ourselves up and into 6th place in this one. And here's the onboard with Lando Norris. You can see he tried to defend, but he actually broke very, very early. So yeah, he didn't want to fight that, just gave it up, and he let us go on our own way. But moving on then to lap number 16, and in 6th position at the moment, Max Verstappen is the first ahead of us to blink and make his pit stop, and he'll come out behind us.
Leclerc is ahead of you. The gap to the car ahead is 1.2 seconds. They're on old softs.
And Charles Leclerc is our next target as we close the gap to the Ferrari. He actually peels off and makes a pit stop as well, which gives us clean air as well as a bit of DRS assistance along the straight as well. So we're going to make use of that and continue out on circuit.
Ricciardo is ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 6.0 seconds. They're on old softs.
And with Ricciardo making his pit stop eventually, we will follow him in on the very next lap, so he doesn't get too big of an undercut. This is actually slightly earlier than our initially scheduled stop, but nonetheless we will make it now, get the medium compound tyres on, and take them to the end of the race in a decent amount of time, hopefully. But yeah, we are currently
Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
currently in 8th position as things stand, with a few cars left in front of us to make their stops. Nobuharu Matsushita notably out of sync there, and Lewis Hamilton as well on the soft tyres, so he has to make another stop unless he started on mediums. I didn't actually pay particular attention to it if anyone got into Q3 on the medium compound tyres, but anyway, we go for a big dive on Matsushita. The Japanese driver gets the switchback and is able to retain the position, though we still have a bit of an overlap on the inside, and we're going to show him the outside line there and push him very close to the grass. We didn't force him off the road, but we were something close to it. But anyway, That is a fastest lap for Lewis Hamilton and a fastest final sector for us. So we are trading purple sectors with Hamilton. We just need to find a little bit more time and we'll begin to catch up to the Mercedes driver. So let's see what we can do as we continue on. You can see green first sector, purple middle sector on this lap. So we are finding more and more time throughout the race, and the fastest lap for us.
The fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
Just confirms the pace that we have.
Ahead. Okay, gap ahead is 1.4 seconds. They're on fresh softs.
And that margin disappears very quickly with another fastest lap for us. Are we going to go for the move here? We go for a dive down the inside. We'll just about squeeze in and we'll make the move stick on Lewis Hamilton.
Nice work, that brings you up a place.
And that moves us up and into P4 at the moment. But here's a replay of the move. You can see just getting closer and closer with the slipstream. DRS not helping us because Hamilton had that as well, but we were just able to sneak down the inside, and I don't think he really saw that coming until it was too late and we were making the move, and we've gotten ourselves ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Next up is Sergio Perez in the Red Bull, the second of the Red Bull cars. Max Verstappen, I believe, is the race leader as things stand, so we'll hopefully be able to chase him down in the future.
Gap on the car behind by around a second a lap.
But right now the focus is Perez, and we go down the inside, back out of it, and then back down the inside into the second apex there, and we get the job done on Sergio Perez, and that was a really nice move. That second dive sealed that one for us as he left the door wide open. As you know, you want to generally focus on a good exit, but it was enough to let us get up the inside, and we got the job done on Sergio Perez in that instance with that second move, and I was very, very happy with that overtake, and we've moved ourselves up onto the podium now. But our progress will not stop there, as we now go past Daniel Ricciardo around the outside into turn 1, and we'll make the move stick on Daniel Ricciardo. A very similar move to what we made on Lando Norris, and that moves us up into second position. So only Max Verstappen left in front of us now, so let's see, go and chase him down and see if we can take the lead here at Suzuka.
We're catching the car ahead, but be aware that these tyres need to last till the end of the race. Verstappen ahead. Our gap to the car in front is 2.1 seconds.
So we are closing up to Max Verstappen as we both catch one of the lap cars. That is Valtteri Bottas in the Haas. We're going to go for a big dive down the inside, and we'll just about make it stick and make the corner, but that was a huge risk to do that. But we do not want to be held up by Bottas even for one corner.
At the moment. Just focus on the driving.
So while we did compromise ourselves a lot there, I think that was the better way to go. But here's a replay of that dive. We come from so far back, had to brake so late to get that done, but we managed to, and Bottas must be left wondering what on earth our brake pads are made from, because they are clearly stronger stuff than what's on the Haas. But yeah, that was a very late move. You can see how much extra speed we carried into the apex. I'm surprised we were able to make the corner, but we did, and we've moved ourselves ahead of him, and now we can focus our full attention on Max Verstappen. Currently not quite close enough, but I'm sure we'll get there in due course. We just need to stay close through the first sector. That's where we were struggling, that's where we lose time, and you can see again a little bit of a moment there through the first or through the S section rather, and losing some time, but we continue on and taking a bit of the grass on the inside of 130R as we are now probably just about within range of Max Verstappen. We will have DRS here, so that is crucial for us. So DRS open.
The car in front, but we need to look after the tyres. We won't be making
as we now go to the outside of Max Verstappen, and we get the move done. Jeff, please stop talking, and we move ourselves ahead of Max Verstappen as the Alpha moves out the way there. We've moved ourselves into the race lead. Yellow flags behind. I think that was just for the Alfa Romeo going slowly. Here's the onboard with Verstappen, and yeah, he couldn't fight back on the inside there, and he too clears the Alfa Romeo car as the other Alpha is right behind as well. But moving on then, Max Verstappen is not done. He goes down the inside into 130R, but he backs out of it, and we hold on to the position through there. but Max Verstappen is certainly not done with yet, and he will be trying everything to keep his chances alive in this race, but he is running out of laps ever so slightly.
First position, front of the pack.
As we are now just have 10 laps to go, but contact there with Verstappen as he tries to make the move on the left hand side along the straight. He gets it done and we slot in behind, but we go for another dive up the inside of Max Verstappen, up on the curb there, skating through, and we'll get the move done on Max Verstappen. And that was a lovely move on the Red Bull driver. Here's a replay of that one, as we didn't quite get it done in the first phase, but sliding through turn 1 and in the second apex they were able to get ahead. But check out this slow-mo here, up on the inside curb, drifting off of it, and able to just sneak up the inside of Verstappen. That is a really cool shot, and we managed to get the move done with a bit of late braking into the second apex there, with the brake discs glowing bright red, and we are in full commitment mode through the first sector here, but we're able to get the move done and move ourselves ahead of Max Verstappen. But that is a really cool shot, that first half of that. But anyway, we got the job done, and now hopefully we can push away from Max Verstappen. And what might help that is Daniel Ricciardo making the move to the outside of Max Verstappen through the Degners. What a move by Daniel Ricciardo, and he might just get it done on the exit. They still run side by side.
First position, front of the pack. Ricciardo is behind you.
And Ricciardo does get that move done on Max Verstappen.
Pit window is open. Pit window is open. 8 laps to go.
With 8 laps to go, 7 laps as we cross the line this time through. So that was a great move by Ricciardo, but there's a reason for it. Max Verstappen is in the pit lane, and he has actually got damage to his car after that bit of contact that we made along the main straight. So that's unfortunate for Verstappen, and he will go tumbling down the order in this one, and we'll see where he comes out. But yeah, he'll lose a massive positions. There hasn't been a safety car for a while, so the field is relatively well spread out. And as Verstappen leaves the pit lane, there is Yuki Tsunoda, and he just about comes out in front of Yuki Tsunoda, but that was very, very close. He very easily could have lost that spot as well. But with Verstappen on fresh tyres, he will now be absolutely flying in this race, and yeah, he'll be very, very quick, setting fastest laps, no doubt. But meanwhile, we continue on, and at the moment we don't have the fastest lap. We then take that
That's a new fastest lap of the race
from Lewis Hamilton, and that will grant us an extra point, though Verstappen has his own ideas.
Verstappen has just put up the fastest lap of the race so far,
and with those fresh tyres takes it for himself. Danny Rick, though, gets past us eventually, as we made a mistake out of the final corner, I think, there, and Ricciardo
you can win that place back.
was able to get through. So the race certainly isn't over yet, and look in the top left, we're running out of laps as we actually now start the final lap of the race.
Final lap of the race.
We are behind Daniel Ricciardo, so the Aussie might steal it at the last moment. We're closing and closing and closing. We go for a big dive up the inside, very aggressive there, just making sure we took that apex before Ricciardo could get there. Significant contact was made, but we got away with no damage, and we'll hold onto the position. But that was a very aggressive move, because it was really going to be our best chance of taking the lead back from Daniel Ricciardo, and we got it done. But Ricciardo, I don't think is done yet. I don't think he had any significant damage from that, so he'll still be putting the pressure on throughout the rest of this lap. But for the moment, we've given ourselves a little break with a decent run through the middle sector so far. Green first sector, so that was a personal best already,
4 laps of fuel remaining,
with the help of DRS there. But anyway, now we are in heading towards the final sector, and we do not have much left between ourselves and a race win here in Japan, as we head through the spoon curve, and we just really have 2 difficult sections to go, 130R and then the Casio Triangle, and that is it. That's all that stands between us and the race win here through 130R. No problems there. Now into the Casio Triangle for the final time. This is going to be another big result for us as a driver in the Drivers' Championship, as well as the Constructors. This is going to be the race win at the Japanese Grand Prix.
I need a moment.
I really need to change that radio.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
I keep forgetting. But nonetheless, we get the job done here in Japan. Starting down in 12th with no pace in qualifying. I will take that.
That's it then for another fantastic Grand Prix here in Japan. A brilliant victory that has thoroughly earned the applause from the sellout crowd here today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
Well, we promised Honda a race worth watching, and I think we have delivered on that. With the win here today, second place goes to Daniel Ricciardo with Charles Leclerc in third.
Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to the scientist. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
Let's move on to the constructors. McLaren continue to increase their gap at the top. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we have it. That was something, that race. That felt really, really good to be able to just drive through the field like that. Around this track, it's not something I've been able to do on too many occasions at Suzuka. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but I love this track, but to actually drive around and actually make overtakes like that can be very, very difficult. So that was an awesome race. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed driving that one. But anyway, so what effect has that had on the championship? Well, in the Drivers' Championship, we have gained a bit of ground back. We are 19 points behind championship leader Max Verstappen at the moment. He maintains the lead just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Lando still sits in third, so no huge changes there. Yuki Tsunoda, he currently sits 10th in the championship. No change for him either, but he was able to bring home 6th place in that race in the end. So to say he had 7th place rather, my mistake. But say he had a lack of pace at the start, he did manage to bring home a good chunk of points all the same. But yeah, other than that then, let's see what else. Constructors' Championship, in terms of our chance of winning it, it's going to be tough, I think. We're currently 96 points behind McLaren, so we have a lot of work to do there if we want to win the Constructors, but there's always a chance with I think 5 or 6 races to go. I think there's 5 races to go at this point, so there's plenty of opportunities, but it's a big margin, so we'll see how it goes. But it's questionable whether we can do that, but we can definitely achieve second. We are only what is that, 76, 96 minus 70, 20 points behind Red Bull in the Teams Championship, the Constructors. So yeah, we can definitely achieve second, that is for sure. But yeah, other than that then, I don't think there's much else to say about this race, so let us just move on to the interviews.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. How are you feeling after that win?
Honestly, it feels amazing to be able to come through the field like that. The car's come such a long way in recent times, and it's awesome to see the results reflecting that. Yeah, to be able to make overtakes and push through the field after starting down in 12th is awesome.
What do you think made the difference between this weekend and last weekend?
Not getting absolutely sent into oblivion at the first corner probably makes a big difference. But other than that, just keep it clean and finishing.
You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
It depends what you estimated. But no, to be honest, it surprised us. I wasn't expecting to be so competitive this season.
How do you feel this season is going for you? Is the car competitive?
Yeah, like I said, we were not expecting it to be as good as it has been recently. So, yeah, this season is going great compared to how we started at race 1.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Thank you, Claire. Alrighty then. Well, Hamilton actually got a faster lap than us, but overall we beat him in the rivalry. Still, just 1 point ahead, 22 to 21. So that one's nice and spicy and close. Let's see what else. We are very close to level 20 acclaim, literally just pixels away. On the progress bar, we get all our bonuses.
Solid at the moment. We should start considering where we can look to invest the profits we're making back into the team.
And we have plenty of money at the moment as well.
Input here. Not an easy choice, I
but
know.
Anyway, we have a very interesting department event. It seems like one of our employees has caused a bit of an issue on the old social medias. So we can either choose to fire them, which is a bit extreme, or we can just make an apology on their behalf, I assume. So we're going to go with that because screw Twitter.
You handled that well. Thank you.
Next up, our sponsorship contract with A&F has expired, and we are going to replace them with this one, Slingshot Fuel. Their target is to achieve a podium finish, and I think we can achieve that every weekend now. So we continue through the timeline to get that brake disc width upgrade finally on the car. That will be very helpful for Mexico. There's a couple of very big stops around that circuit, so having good brakes there will be very, very awesome. And will definitely help us overtake and defend at that circuit. But as I went through and started to fast forward that, I suddenly realized I hadn't set up the activities. Turns out we actually still just about have time to do all of these, so that was not a big deal in the end, and we didn't really miss out on anything in particular. In terms of R&D, we're actually reaching the limit in a couple of the departments of what we can do with our current facilities. So we're turning our attention back to the durability department, and we're going to work on a controller electronics upgrade, and that will help out our most unreliable component a little bit, and we're going to try and rush that in for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Otherwise, it will only be on the car for about 2 races before the end of the season, and that's not particularly helpful. So we continue through the timeline again, and we get that front wing upgrade on the car, which will now balance out our downforce front to rear again, which is good for the Mexican Grand Prix, which we have coming up next. But anyway, we get a personnel department event, so we're just checking on Tsunoda's stats before we go in, because quite often it affects those. So I want to know what we have to work with. But it's not actually directly about that. Looks like the media are saying Tsunoda's been disconnected and distracted in recent interviews and such. So we can talk to him about it. That will increase his focus, but cost us 750 resource points. Okay, that's just ridiculous. I mean, how does talking to the driver cost that many resource points? Or we can do nothing, and that will decrease his focus. I mean, we only have one option.
I appreciate you taking the time to help out.
Because we don't have 750 resource points, but I think that is a little bit of a ridiculous, department event. How does talking to the driver cost resource points and cost that many resource points? But yeah, that does decrease his focus a bit, but Yeah, it's now at 76, so it has taken quite a hit, but hopefully he'll be able to recover from that soon enough. But anyway, we continue to go through.
Without issue. They'll be on the car ready for the next race weekend.
And yes, 2 aero upgrades on the car at once now, and the other, I believe, was rear downforce. So that may have just put it off balance straight away. Continuing through the timeline again then, and we have another department event straight away.
Step in and make an executive decision here.
So the chassis department are calling for our help because they are having trouble keeping up with the current schedule. So we can either invest more in the department and help them keep up in that way, or just reduce their workload, which we can't do because that costs resource points that we do not have. Not that I would choose that anyway, because the amount of money these things cost versus the resource points you would lose for choosing the other option
The department
is,
wants me to pass on their thanks for helping out.
well, you'd go for the money every time, because resource points are just so much more valuable, unless you really needed every last cent you could get. But there's a failed upgrade. The control electronics upgrade that we just purchased, we could not rush that in time, and that will be on the car now much later. But before we worry about that, there is another performance upgrade we can afford, and it is this brake discs upgrade. And if we rush it, it will be on the car in time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. So we are going to try that out and see how that goes. But anyway, we head back to the timeline, and as we fast forward through, we get the last of our activities out of the way.
Issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for the weekend has failed.
We know,
Any
Ollie.
redevelopments will
We've
need to be
been
ordered
through
from
this
the R&D
before.
screen.
You know the thing. Okay. You don't. He always says everything like too late. He's a little bit slow. Is Ollie? But anyway, I miss Carl. Carl was better. Sad. Anyway, I think that is all there is to cover for this one. So I think I'll just leave it here. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Feel free to give us some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you later.